I can go even to a very young age. So when I was studying piano, I was studying music theory as well, with the same teacher actually. And I still remember how amazed I was, for example, to discover the circle of fifth, or to discover the structure of chords. I really love numbers, and the fact that it was fifth, and that the chords were, the thirds of the chords, and focusing on the intervals and on the chords, the sound and the inversions, and all this was kind of like a magic forest for me. So I really loved that. And I even remember the day where I read about septachords, that's how we call them, seventh chords. And then I sat near the piano and I tried it. And I thought, wow, this is a major discovery. And I was writing songs at the time, and I wrote this song that sounds very Brazilian actually, because it's all seventh chord. It took me many years to recover from the seventh chords. So that means that even impulses came actually from learning theory, which is a very interesting thing, because it doesn't always happen. Later, when I started to teach, I had to teach analysis. And that was a very intense, for me, encounter with the musical thinking of theorists and musicologists, because I realized that I do not want to analyze in the way that musicologists have been analyzing. So I chose, for example, for my course, which started in '97, Chelsea fourth string quartet, Lachenmann grand torso, and Klaus K. Hubler, Opus Breve for cello solo, an amazing 3 minutes piece that you hear and you do not understand. So all 3 pieces, and also actually Feldman, but Feldman is easier to analyze. But all these 3 pieces, not only there was not much documentation, but also you need the key to unlock them, and you need to invent the key. You need to invent the door, and you need to invent the room. And that was something that really occupied me for a long time. And once I completed these analyses, I felt they were not musicological analysis. They were really composerly analysis of trying to figure out how it works, not what it's made of, but why it works the way it works, and for which purpose in some way. Why are things done in a certain way? The first paper is The Other Tiger, a paper that I was asked to write for a kind of a conference of réseau Varese, and they've asked me to just write how my music is connected to me living in many different countries, being kind of a world citizen rather than a national citizen. And I wrote quite a poetic paper, but actually it does establish some points which could be seen as a kind of a theory of looking, for example, at harmony as harmony between, let's say, various noises. Having to define harmony before you are talking about the relationship, define the field of the harmony before you talk about the relationship between things, because when you move a lot, you get to see that things change their meaning, but still relationship do remain. So people are people with the same kind of perception maybe, but there are translation of the contents, of the semantics of what we are dealing with, while the framework maybe still occurs. So that kind of, it's not exactly a translation, it's an ability of changing perspective while maintaining some kind of worldview or relationship, general relationship, is very important when you change places. And I showed how it affected my contrapunctual thinking, my harmonic thinking, or the melodic thinking, in terms of dealing with what is identity. So that identity is something which is not given, which is always questioned. And I showed how that it's a very short paper, but it really puts a kind of a foundation for a kind of a more theoretical or philosophical, aesthetic philosophic thinking about why I do things the way I do. Putting in question the most basic assumptions, beginning with the identity of a piece as one piece that I have questioned so many times. So that's one paper. I hope it is not too long if I talk about each of them. Another one was an analysis of the piece Mine, Water, and it's a very long analysis, and it's called Mine, How Does This Piece Think? I think that's what it's called. And I tried to show not exactly only what happens in the piece, but more why it happens and what typifies it as a kind of a behavior of an organism, almost like you are analyzing psychologically the development of a person over time. And you follow long-term processes, so that's that paper. And the last one is something that is probably the most interesting for us to talk about. It's called, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name right now, but it has to do with risk-taking and with putting invention vis-a-vis discovery, and connecting them to different kind of composers, different kind of music, and show the relationship between them, showing the relationship between them. That was a paper that for me, compositionally, was very, very important to write, because it brought into clarity a lot of thoughts that I've been having, and it helped me to organize my thinking in a very good way. And I have given it in a few places, I've read it, and I think that it is something which is in the air today, and those definitions were helpful to some people wherever I've done that. A diary is something very personal, but I don't have a diary of that kind of arena of my life. But I think that it's very strange, but I feel like I'm almost like an arrow. My thinking is so straight and has always been, so that it's almost like a kind of an animal that goes with a internal stream towards, actually it's very narrative, my way. It's building a really systematic building of something. And I remember that, you know, when I applied to my PhD at UCSD, you have to write a letter about why you write music, what you want to do, you know. When I'm now teaching, most of the students just write, oh, I had this prize and I had this piece, blah, blah, blah. I came from Israel, I was not in this mentality. And I thought to myself, oh, it's very serious. I have to write why I write music and what I want. And I wrote this letter which said that I want to bring into expression things which are never talked about and are very hidden and to make them apparent with my work. And the secretary, when I talked to her, she said, I've never seen such a strange statement of purpose. But when I think about it, that statement of purpose, it was there then, and I'm still working on it. So many years afterwards, I'm not done at all. But I've learned some more things in the way. So that diary is not needed for me. And I think that I have a very strong intuition of where should I go next. It's almost like a tiger that pounces, because when you feel that there is something that is speaking to your interests, you know that you have to go to a certain place.